What's going on, everyone? Welcome to another edition of 68 Shining Moments. Today we have K.J. Maura and Ryan Odom from that 2018 UMBC team that won as a 16th seed, presented by DraftKings Sportsbook. Welcome back to another episode of 68 Shining Moments here on the Field of 68 Media Network. I'm pleased to be joined today by UMBC head coach Ryan Odom and former point guard K.J. Maura. What's going on, guys? Thank you for being here.
Yeah, thanks for having us.
All right, before we actually get into the build up to the game and the game itself, right off the bat, I have to ask everybody that's involved in these shows, what does it feel like knowing that you have become synonymous with March Madness and Cinderellas, and what you guys were able to accomplish back in 2018 is going to be something that we talk about until the NCAA stops playing college basketball. It's going to be something that is always brought up. Like, what is it? Has that really sunk in that you did something that's going to resonate for that long? Coach, why don't you start?
Yeah, I mean, I tell you what, it never gets old. Talking about that particular year, the year that I was able to spend with these great guys, one right here in front of you, in KJ. It's interesting. It's my friends will remind me of it at times. Coaching peers. Obviously, people around here obviously are really still really fired up about it. But it's just unique. It's hard to describe because when your team, our university is the first to ever do something in college basketball. I mean, it's some heavy weight with that,
Yeah, I mean,
not something that I think about every single day, but it's just, it is a pretty cool thing.
Yeah, college basketball has been around for so long at this point. To be the first to finally do something, KJ, that's pretty impressive. It's pretty memorable.
That's pretty big. And I think the most important part of that game is that we gave hope to the small schools, small programs that get to the tournament already thinking, oh, we playing against Duke, we're playing against Kentucky. They go to the game basically to have fun and not thinking about winning a game. And I think now those teams, though, middle and low major schools are coming to the game with a mentality like, we're not underdogs no more. We belong to this tournament, and we're going to go try to win a game.
Well, speaking of which, I want some honesty here now. You're not just playing a number one seed in this matchup, right? It's not just Virginia. You're playing a team that went 31-2, that won the ACC regular season title, that won the ACC tournament title. Did you, and maybe Coach, this is the best for you because I'm sure KJ would have a different answer. He seems like a pretty confident guy. Did you really think that you could go into this game and win by 20? Was that something that you really believe was possible? Be honest.
I'll take you. I learned pretty early on with this group that I was fortunate enough to coach to never doubt them, to try to give them more confidence. And that was kind of my role as the coach, was to just, roll with it a little bit, obviously keep things in check. But, with that particular game, we all had a collective gulp or gasp or whatever once that Sunday announcement hit where, oh, you're playing Virginia. And we knew what that meant. We weren't, stuck in some little cave where we didn't know what Virginia basketball was all about, especially in that particular year. They have one of the best coaches in college basketball, if not the best. Their team that particular year was the most well-balanced team on offense and defense. They were in the top 5 on both categories. And so we knew we were in for an uphill fight, going into it. Had you asked any of us prior to that game, are you going to win by 20? Absolutely. We would not have said yes. But I would not have said, this team's not capable of competing and being in the game. I think that was certainly in all of our minds. We felt like, we could compete, with anyone, at that point. We had played earlier in the season against a very good Arizona team who had, the number 1 pick in DeAndre Ayton. And, we were in that game. It was 58-55, in the second half. We played an excellent SMU team who was coming off of, a 30-win season the year prior. We were up 13 with, not a lot of time to go. And in both of those games, KJ didn't play. And so we felt like we could compete, but you never know until that ball's tipped up and you start playing.
So KJ, let me ask you this. When did you feel that moment that you can kind of say, okay, we got a real chance. Like we're going to get this done.
Like during the game or before the game?
Like during the game, when was that moment? Was like, okay, like we're in this. We got a shot at this. Oh, we can pull this one off.
I think like since the beginning we knew we had a chance, but when we meet at halftime and the game is like 21-20 or really low score, and we come out the second half and Joe Sherburne goes like on a 7-0 run by himself, then I started thinking like, okay, like we better start making a lead and a run. But once Jarris made like a left hand floater after a foul call or something like that, we can't lose. Like this guy is not gonna miss, you know.
That basket
But
didn't count.
yeah, it didn't count. It didn't count. But after he made that basket, I knew something special was gonna happen because that guy could have missed that day.
Well, were you aware of what you were doing while it was happening? Like, did it register as like, wow, we're running the second best team in the country off of the floor in the first round of the NCAA tournament? Like, I'm always fascinated by people that are doing these incredible things in the moment. Like, how much of that were you aware of, or were you just were you going, just playing, kind of in the moment, living it?
To be honest, it didn't hit me like until we was like walking down the ball, like at the end of the game, and we're looking at coach, we're looking at the fans. That's when it really hit me that we did something really big. But during the game, like you're just so focused on the game plan on what you got to do against your team, against your rivals, that you're not thinking on that specifically part of the game. You're thinking more of like, this is what we got to do, and you got to keep doing it until it's zero on the clock. So that's what we did. And once we saw the crowd and I look at coach and we said, I told you, we started hugging. That's when it really felt like we did something amazing.
So, Coach, I'm curious, like when you were going through it in some of the huddles that you had at the end of the game, how much were you kind of like talking yourself into this idea? Like, okay, you know, I think everyone watching the game was kind of waiting for Virginia to wake up and make that run and get a little bit of confidence. So how much were you like, okay, if we could just get this possession here, get to 8 minutes and still be up by 10, get to 4 minutes and still be up by 12? Like what was going through your mind while all of this was happening?
Yeah, I mean, I think we just coaching the game, trying to make sure that my guys were calm and collected and ready to finish the game. For us, there was a stretch where it was a long stretch of basketball where there were no fouls and it was kind of back and forth. There were no timeouts. There was no dead balls. And, I can remember Jarris was cramping at one point and had to come out of the game for a minute. And then he would go back in. He went back in. But obviously we got to the lead was so great at that point that I was a little bit nervous in that our guys would continue to shoot it quickly and then get a little bit and also potentially get a little bit tentative. And so within those timeouts, my biggest thing to them was, hey, they're coming after you. They're going to shoot it faster. They're going to start playing differently. They're going to start pressuring you. They're going to start going for it, reaching more. We've got to make sure that we're really good with the ball. But when it's there, you need to take it and play forward, I think is what I was saying, basically down the stretch. Like, don't sit there and hold it back when they're going after you. And then all of a sudden you cough the ball up, as opposed to take the easy ones when they're there. And I think, having a veteran core group of guards that I was fortunate enough to coach, and KJ and Jarris and Jordan, I felt pretty comfortable because they had been in games like that before, where they had big leads and just needed to finish it out.
So I want to know for both of you, what's like the defining memory that you have from that game? Like what's the one thing that you think about the most?
Wow. I think I would say it's hard to pick one, but it's just seeing my dad at the stands with the big head and having that faith that we was about to win a game. It was a couple times that I looked to the fans and I saw him like so euphoric and so into the game that I think that was my favorite part of the game, looking at the fans like enjoying and really believing we was gonna win a game that it was almost impossible for us to win.
Could you feel like the crowd kind of turn for you and start rooting for you? Is that because you always hear about how all the neutrals start rooting for the underdog in these neutral site tournaments? Right? So did you feel that? Was that happening in the arena?
Actually, like our fans was kind of shy at the beginning because we was expect to lose or something. But once they saw we was staying in the game and building a lead, the whole Coliseum was just rooting for us, and it was like a home game for us and an away game for Virginia, especially all those ACC rivals that they want to see them lose. Mm-hmm. They was cheering for us, so it was a big boost for us too.
We'll get back to that interview in a minute, but first, let me tell you about our partners over at DraftKings Sportsbook. With March Madness beating down our door, DraftKings is the best way for you to get a little action in on the game. If you have not downloaded the DraftKings Sportsbook app yet, well, what are you waiting for? It's the safest, it's the most secure, it's the most reliable, and it allows you to deposit and withdraw your money at your convenience. And this week, they are offering Field of 68 listeners a pretty sweet deal. If you sign up now with the promo code FIELD68, you can turn $1 into $100 if one of the main event fighters in UFC 159 this weekend lands a single punch. That's it. One punch to turn $1 into $100. And don't worry, if MMA is not really your thing, DraftKings Sportsbook offers odds and promos on basketball, on hockey, on really whatever sport you're watching. They got it. They got odds. They got specials. They got whatever you want. But since they're basically giving away $100, you might as well sign up now. Watch a little UFC and remember to use the promo code FIELD68. That's FIELD68. You must be 21 years or older. Offer available for a limited time only. Eligibility restrictions apply. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. Coach, what's the defining memory of that game for you?
Yeah, it was at the end, just watching these guys smile. I think I said that after the game, watching these guys experience that, euphoric moment, and just they had worked so hard, and I think back to a guy like Jordan Grant, Jairus Lyles, guys that had been there, Joe Sherburne, prior to our staff coming in, and they'd had some hard years, and then all of a sudden KJ comes in, with our staff and several other guys as well that were important to our team, and to see how hard they worked from the very beginning when we first got here to that moment was extremely gratifying, for me, just to watch them celebrate on the court and in the locker room and just be so happy. So there wasn't one moment necessarily during the game or anything like that. Obviously, we were kind of all getting hit after the game, from a lot of different sides of things from a media perspective. But, I grew up in a coaching family, so that wasn't something that wasn't normal, for me. My father, had a lot of success as a college coach. So I'd kind of been around that side of it. But to see my guys, so happy, that meant everything to me.
So take me through those moments in the locker room, right? It's hard for me to wrap my head around, right? Because you pull off this unbelievable upset, like we mentioned, something that people are going to be talking about for 100 years. And you still have to turn around and go play another game in like 48 hours, right? So like, how long does the celebration last? At what point are you like, guys, listen, we got to move on. We got Kansas State coming up. Like this isn't the end of the season. We got to keep going. Like, how hard was that, KJ, for you to kind of wrap your head around? Like, we're not done yet. We got to keep going.
I mean, it was a little difficult, especially because the media doesn't make it easy on you. You're just going to keep seeing it on ESPN. You're going to keep getting interviewed about it. Instead of talking about Kansas State, that's what was the next game we had. So I think the hardest part is to like switch the game plan and focus on the scouting report that the staff is going to give you, especially when you got all those type of emotions in your head and everything. But we had a mature team. We had a really good group that it wasn't that hard. Like at the Kansas State game, we was there to win it too. We was 2 minutes left. It was right there, 2-point game, 3-point game, a couple possessions, and we could have won that game. We just didn't make no shots. But as part of like moving forward to the next game, I think the guys did a great job, and they was pretty mature about it.
Yeah, because it wasn't like you got ran off the floor the next game either. I mean,
yeah, we fought hard and had a big chance to win it. I still feel bad about that game more than winning. About winning the Virginia game was fine, but that Kansas State game hurts the most because I felt we had a good chance, and if we win that game, who knows what might have happened,
Yeah, no question. I think right after the Virginia game, I think I wrote on the board 0 and 135, and then I marked out the 0 and then I put 1 and I said, you guys are the 1. And then below that, I wrote 0 and 0. And I said, wouldn't it be a shame if we were still talking about this up here and we didn't take advantage of the first 16 to ever play in a second round game and put our best foot forward? And so I wrestled with it a little bit. Do I, when we get back to the hotel, take their phones? Do I, what do I do? And, I had different guys talking to me about it, assistant coaches saying what their thoughts were, but we all settled on, it would have been unnatural for me to do that, because that's not how I am. I generally let my guys be, and I'm not making them stay off of social media or any of that. I just want them to be responsible and respect the opportunity that they had. And they did that. I have no regrets about, the preparation that we had going into that Kansas State game. Kansas State beat us fair and square, but it wasn't because we didn't. We were still thinking about, the Virginia game. We certainly had more circumstances surrounding it, more distractions surrounding it. But our guys played their hearts out, in that Kansas State game. And I am like KJ. I still think about that one. Coaches always think about the one they lost.
I think more about that one than the Virginia game, to be honest.
Yeah.
All right. So the last question I got for you guys is this. It's my personal opinion that you deserve a ring from Virginia for the 2019 title, because I don't think that they win that title if it's not for you guys, because I think you kind of forced Tony to switch what he runs offensively. Like in 2018, it was all blocker mover stuff. They always had those two bigs out there. In 2019, you watch them, they were running a lot of ball screen stuff, a lot of ball screen continuity. And in the national title game, like the way that they closed that game was with Braxton Key at the 5 and DeAndre Hunter at the 4. And I don't know if he fully buys into the idea of playing small if it's not for you guys. So what do you think? Do you deserve credit for that national title? Should I give it to you? Am I right there?
No, we would never take, better than that. We would never take credit for something that's not ours. But, I think the lesson there, and Tony said it, is when you go through adversity, those opportunities have a way of giving you a gift that you never could have gotten on your own. And I think that certainly is what happened there. It is no secret that they went and got a little point guard in Kie Clark that was very similar to this guy right here. All right. Who, was a great player as well. So they saw it up close. But nobody was happier than us, for Virginia. I grew up there, obviously. My father was an assistant there. I was a ball boy for the team. I lived on that campus and in that arena. And, one of my best friends in coaching is one of Tony's assistants, Orlando Vandross. He and I work together. Know Jason Williford extremely well. Tony and I are friends. That was the only bittersweet part about us winning, that game was them having to endure that loss. But the redemption was tremendous, to see Virginia win it.
Yeah, I think it's the best story, and maybe in the history of sports. You have the 16 seed upsetting the 1 seed, who kind of has this reputation for losing in the tournament and whatever. Like that stuff's kind of overblown. But then they come out the next season and they have like the miracle run. Like you had the Mamadi Diakite shot. You had Kyle Guy hitting the free throws in the Final Four. You had the DeAndre Hunter. Like so, the whole
the Gardner-Webb start, right?
Yeah, the Gardner-Webb start. Like the whole run.
Yeah.
Just everything about that story is just it's. If you wrote it into a movie, I'd say that I don't believe it. That never happened in real life.
There's no question, and there's no question about it. And I think what it speaks to is, certainly Tony's leadership, within his program and his kids, but I also think it speaks to our kids too. And I think what KJ said right at the beginning is it not only gives hope to other Division I teams or low major teams, whatever you want to call them, that enter the tournament. It gives hope to little kids out there. Like KJ gives hope to guys that, are his size that dream about playing college basketball, all right, and playing on that big stage. Any kid that laces it up in high school or AAU or whatever, they dream about playing in that sign that's right behind KJ's head, March Madness. And, for us to be a small part of that, is really rewarding for sure.
Where'd the big head come from, KJ? Is that from the actual game itself?
No, my dad was in Puerto Rico before the conference tournament. So he came to the conference tournament with the big heads already from Puerto Rico. So he came through the airport with him and everything. And once we won the conference tournament at Vermont, which he was there too, he decided to go to Charlotte too. So he brought the big heads to Charlotte. And
I would love to know what the people at the airport were thinking when they saw this guy walking through with a big head. If somebody with the flowing hair and a headband on.
At the beginning, they said, "Oh, this guy is crazy," but after we won, everybody was taking pictures with him.
The quick funny story. So KJ's father, he has a shirt that said K on the front. It says KJ Playmaker. All right, and on the back it says "Why not us?" And so you have the shoot-arounds the day before the game. we're there at the shoot around, and kind of at the end of the shoot around, we had the final 4 crew: Jim Nance, Bill Raftery, Grant Hill. Yeah. And I mean, it was pretty cool. And so I walk over there to talk to Nance, and he says, "Hey, I do these games every year, 16, and 16's never beaten them one. You think you can get it done for me?" Like, he puts me right on the spot, and I'm like, "What? Are you kidding me?" And so I just happened to look up in the stands, and I see KJ's dad holding that head right there. And on the front of his shirt, it says KJ Playmaker. And I said, "Hey, Mr. Maura," I said, "turn around." And it said on the back, "Why not us?" True story.
True story.
Yeah.
That is awesome. Well, listen, guys, I appreciate the time. Thank you so much for coming here and hanging out with us. And hopefully we can catch up again soon.
Awesome. Thanks, Rob.
Thank you for having us, man.
Love you, KJ. Be good, buddy.
Love you too, Coach.
Thanks, guys. That was awesome. KJ, I love the background. I love the whole background. Everything is going on.
Hey, awesome. I had to get it right.
Yeah. All right, now you better pull us through tomorrow. Now, be watching that game, okay?
Yeah. I'll be watching.
Text Nate if you got any ideas in the middle of the game. If I'm screwing up,
I'll give you this kind of report.
All right.
All right, thanks, guys.